Hello, hello. One, two, one, two. Microphone. Yes, this is another Tuesday afternoon, 3:38 p.m. I am 8 minutes late, and that's all right, cause you know what? I forgive myself. That's the best thing to do. You have to forgive yourself. If you don't forgive yourself, you'll be living all life long thinking, oh, I should have done this. And then all those should have, could have, would have, they accumulate, and then you end up a mess. So I forgive myself. But I try to learn of my mistakes. And even though I try not to be late, life is what it is. Like this time, I was hanging out in the back too long, talking to Zav, which is okay. He's in charge of the store. He's a friend, and you guys are friends too. Well, let me put the microphone on myself. A little higher than this. All right. So back in the studio, River West Radio, Chili Chill, and friends, art and life. Welcome to Chili Chill and Friends. My name is Chili Chill, and I'm the producer of the show. The things you will hear over the next hour and a half represent the views of Chili Chill and Friends and the people making them. All opinions and quotations no way represent River West Radio, and they're the sole responsibility of the producer, guests, and callers of River West Radio, and that's not liable for any legal issues arising from the contents of this program. Alright, I'm done with this. Legalities. River West Radio is the best place to be right now, because that's where I'm at least it is for me. For you, I'm pretty sure your comfortable home is just as good as any other place, because wherever you are, that's where you're supposed to be. I'm supposed to be here. I'd rather be probably somewhere in Jamaica, though, to tell you the truth. But for me right now, this is where I'm supposed to be, so I'm doing my duty hosting a show. And right now is snowing. This is the actual second snow of the year. It's beautiful. You can't drive too fast, be careful driving. I was driving and I skidded and I almost crashed, and I said, oh, no more Buckaroo Banzai for Chili Chill. Because that's what I like to drive like a cowboy. See, I'm wearing a hat. I got my honky tonk guitar on the radio. And I'm just, woohoo, yeehaw. I'm a cowboy. And this is my steel horse that I ride. But in actuality, right now, at the snowy weather, my steel horse becomes like a little pony, or better yet, a donkey. So I'm riding like a little donkey or a little llama, a little pony. Cause can't ride fast in this, unless you wanna go head first in the windshield. Then you can drive as fast as you want to. But I don't recommend you do that, cause you gotta keep your head covered and safe. And your head is important. Too many head injuries will if you have too many head injuries, you'll end up like Muhammad Ali. And he's got a good mind. I mean, he's still sharp. He just has difficulties, but some people have more difficulties than him. And I'm surprised that he has so many difficulties, because he did fly like a butterfly. I don't know what all those hits come from. So my show is about just life, and I've been reading Bhagavad Gita, the Krishna's Counsel in the Time of War, translated by Barbara Stoker Williams for the past half a year, and I'm actually gotten to the last chapter. And this chapter is a painful event to go through, because each line is so meaningful, and If you read this book, you can just ponder and wonder on each word, each sentence for quite a long time. I mean, they've got people more qualified than me talking for hours about each line because you can. That's the beauty of wisdom books, is that the even though they're very simple, sort of to understand, in that simplicity, there's a vast knowledge. West wisdom is condensed into few words. So if you look at these words, you can just expand it continuously for as long as you want to, basically. As long as your mind works and is sort of, understands what uh, it's thinking. My mind doesn't send much, but I still try to talk because, well, this is my show. I've gotta talk. There's nothing else to do but to talk. I was talking to another radio show host. Well, she used to be a professional radio show hostess, and we were talking about how you gotta talk on the radio because you can't just keep the air dead. You can't keep the dead air. You can't continue. You can't. You can't keep the air dead. Well, I said it right. Right time. First time. First time, the best time, and the other time is just good as any. Because that's the topic of today. Forgive yourself. You make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Acknowledge that you made mistakes. And next time, try not to make it. And if you make it next time, forgive yourself. Forgiveness is such an important quality. Don't forgive just yourself, forgive everybody else. Except for them bastards that started the war. No, forgive them too. Forgive them, Lord, for them do not know what they do. End of the world is coming. I'm gonna do it all in ceremony. From the morning till dusk, from sunrise to sunset, and after and before, I'm just doing all ceremony. Fire, burning some fire, sweat lodges, prayer, fasting. Well, fasting. I'm not sure about fasting. Maybe I should fast, you know? I fast sometimes, it's nice. Abstinence from food lets you experience something else. It's really hard to describe because this food thing is sort of like an addiction, and after a certain time of not eating, the hunger subsides and there's no more hunger, so you're just left not eating any food. It's kind of weird, but essentially you do need food. So sometimes people just go on because they've got energy, so they don't care about eating, and sometimes they might even lose weight. I've never lost weight. I've fasted a couple of times for like 7 days, 5 days. Haven't lost a pound, maybe a pound or two, but no, I haven't really lost any weight. Sure, some people would. Oh, I went to Aldi's shopping for my grandpa. He's a bit sick. His feet hurt, and Aldi's got some really nice cheap Brussels sprouts and fruits and vegetables too. Well, Brussels sprouts are vegetables, but they're like for a buck a whole bunch of them, and usually expensive. And those are really nice ones up there. So, I recommend get yourself some Brussels sprouts and have some Brussels sprout for Christmas. I don't celebrate Christmas, but I'm going to a Christmas party. That's my celebration because as a non-denominational um, non-denominational Buddha-esque shamanistic, just a human being. That's who I am. Uh, I am down with them all. As long as I agree with it, you know? If I don't agree with something, I can't be accepting it. You know, like I don't agree with the notion, the Christian notion, that only through Jesus can we get to heaven. Because, well, kind of leaves everybody else in the gutter, you know? It's like, if you want to be in a nice place, you gotta go, you gotta become a Christian. And you can't be in a nice place right now. You gotta wait till you die. Then you'll find out. That's why, you know, it's faith. It's all about faith. So that's why I take Buddhism. Because Buddha said, hey, y'all, don't believe in me because I say I'm Buddha. Don't believe anybody just because they say there's somebody. Believe your own self. Believe your experience. See if people are right for your own self. See, I'm telling you, do this. Check it out if it's true. And Buddha, what he talked about is talked about look within yourself. Like Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is within. Well, Buddha said, the kingdom of heaven is within. Only he used different words. Because words are just used to express reality, which is wordless. It's reality is what it is what you get, right? And people, they try to put all kinds of labels on us and try to separate you from me and us from them. So I'm all about solidarity. You know, we gotta overcome our differences and be together. I ain't got none against nobody unless you want to cause me and what I love misery, like those warmongers. And you know, I see all people as having infinite possibilities of being anybody they want to. For example, there was a famous Buddhist Tibetan fella. Well, he wasn't really a Buddhist at first. At first, he was just born. First, he was just a kid. You know, he was kind of like a slave kid. His uncle put him to slavery. Like long story, but eventually this kid learned a bunch of black magic because that's the Tibet's original religion. Not black magic is, but magic in general. And magic also has different levels, and then there's also the highest level, which is like Buddhahood, because you know the truth is the same no matter who preaches it or where it comes from. Oh, I got a phone call. So, yeah, this Milarepa guy, he killed 100 people or so, or maybe 60 people through black magic. And that's pretty rough, right? But eventually he forgave himself and become kind of like Jesus. Walked around. I gotta get this phone call. Da, Borja? Yeah, my uncle is calling me. Probably he wants me to pick him up from someplace. This guy, he got into one drunk driving, then he got into second drunk driving, and when he got into second drunk driving, he hit a bicyclist. So that was back in the days when people were more lenient towards drunk drivers, and he was put on probation. And then he got himself a third drunk driving. Да, Боря? Боря, я сейчас занят, я сейчас свое радиошоу делаю, окей? Я тебе через 1,5 часа могу позвонить. No. So he got himself in the third drunk driving. The guy does not learn. So he had to go to prison for a couple of years, you know? Poor family. You know, kids are growing up, going to school. Wife is working 2 jobs and the third job and fourth job. I don't know how many jobs she was working. Our whole family was helping them out. You know, because they just got a house too, mortgage and everything. But eventually he got out. And he was put on probation, and while he was on probation, he didn't drink anything, and he was very happy. And, you know, he was just a jolly old fella. And then probation ended, and, well, first he started drinking a little bit, and then he started drinking a little bit more. And, you know, now the guy drinks again, but he doesn't drive a car because nobody lets him behind the wheel anymore, because we all know what's gonna happen. And he doesn't want to drive either. He says, "Oh, just drive me around." And I'm like, "Okay." The whole family has to drive him. So, hmm, I'm gonna read the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita and do some commentaries. Hopefully, I might even finish it. But it is a long chapter, and it looks like I might not be able to do it. But we'll see how it goes. This book, Bhagavad Gita, it's all about soul searching, coming to know the divine within yourself. And its moral is do your duty. And if your duty is to defend your kingdom, you gotta go and kill a few cousins. That's the moral. You gotta do what you gotta do. Because it's your karma. In this book, there is sort of like a dialogue between a king, a prince, Arjuna, and his best friend, Krishna. And Krishna is not just the prince's best friend, he's also a great hero and a great lover, and sort of like Jesus, sort of like Avatar, sort of like, God, you know, God on earth, incarnation of God in human form. So Krishna knows everything and can do anything, but he's still in human form. So there's certain things that he cannot do, like he cannot stop the war, but he cannot stop people from killing each other. But he's like a mighty warrior, so he can take a chariot and throw it across the land. But we don't have any war up here in this book. We just have a dialogue about soul and God and action. So, Arjuna says this: Krishna, I want to know the real essence of both renunciation and relinquishment. Now, Arjuna is this is the sort of like what the book is all about. Arjuna asks questions and Krishna goes into long answers. But here he wants to know the meaning between what is the purpose? What's the whole deal about renouncing the worldly existence? Like getting. Well, actually, I'm not even sure what he's talking about because this is the last chapter and I don't have any commentaries up here, and I've never read this book, and I don't know much about Hindu religion. Yeah, like here I am. I'm giving you my qualifications. So, but I figure, Arjuna wants to know what's the whole deal about the holy duty, like getting away from the world, meditating, trying to find God within. And here's what Krishna says: giving up actions based on desire, the poets know as renunciation. Relinquishing all fruit of action, learned men call relinquishment. See, I don't know none of this, but Krishna, he knows it all, so he explains it. He says that this renunciation thing, what it is when like you're driving in a car, a long road, say to Chicago, and you drink a lot of coffee, and then you have to pee, and you really want to pee, but there is no bathroom around, and you don't want to pee in your pants, so you kind of hold it, and you don't act based on your desire. So you renounce your desire to pee. Or for example, you're like fasting. You decided, okay, I'm gonna go on the fast, and you're walking by a really delicious smelling Brussels sprouts, and you think to yourself, Brussels sprouts, how much I want to taste them. But you don't taste them because you renounce this whole thing, because you're fasting, but you're doing what you're supposed to do. It's when you, well, like Krishna says, give up your actions that are based on desire. And then there is this thing called relinquishment. And relinquishment is like, it's like you really want to buy a cheap house. No, nothing. Never mind about cheap houses. There's a lot of them. But it's like, I don't know, I'm a guy. I like a girl. I really would like to go out with this girl, and I ask her out, right? And she says, "No, I will never go out with you." And I get also sad and gloomy because I don't have relinquishment. Relinquishment is that I don't really, it doesn't really matter to me what happens about my actions. I do my duty. I ask the girl out because that's what I'm supposed to do. But whether she says yes or no doesn't really matter to me, because I'm so cool, man. I don't know. To me, I'm just doing my thing, and what really happens, it just happens. That's basically relinquishment. Some wise men, that's what Krishna says. Some wise men say all actions is flawed and must be relinquished. Others say action is sacrifice, charity, and penance must not be relinquished. So, some people, and Krishna here does not say that he's saying this, he just says some people. And what previously we talked about renunciation and relinquishment, that's also what some wise people or poets say. We don't really know what Krishna says himself. But Krishna says that people, like wise people, they say, some of them, they say that every action is not perfect because there's no perfection in action. So all action must be relinquished. It doesn't really matter. Nothing matters, basically. And others, other wise men, they say that when you sacrifice, when you give charity, when you do penance for this or that, now those actions, they must not be relinquished because they are very nice and good and proper, and it is good to get results for them. Like when you get charity, it's good to get something back. Then he goes, Arjuna, hear my decision about relinquishment. It is rightly declared to be of three kinds. So here we have action in sacrifice, charity, and penance is to be performed, not relinquished. For wise men, they are acts of sanctity. So Krishna here says that he agrees with those wise men. That when you act, when you volunteer at the orphanage, or serving food, when you give some food to homeless people, when you do good deeds, when you go and pray, or when you help people, when you help yourself, when you acknowledge your own faults, those actions um, that are really good, and they should not be relinquished. So it's not for those actions, the fruits of those, the effects of those deeds are not to be cared about. You should care about that. You should care about the good deeds that you do. The selfless deeds, the deeds that promotes your egolessness, because the result of those actions is you get to be more selfless, more egoless. You become a more human in other ways. Because human beings, we're such a communal beings. We Some people forget that, and they think that human beings are all about ego, serving self. But in reality, especially in the ancient man, like look at the Amazon, those lost tribes of Amazon. They're very, very. I got this phone call. Yes, hello, hello. Who is this? Yeah, who is this? Oh, Kel, I'm doing my radio show. Come on by if you want to. My buddy Kel is calling. All right, bye. Um, so yeah, human beings, we learn from one another. We learn from the world around us. We love our pets and we love our wildlife. We love our trees and the sky. Really good people. But sometimes people forget all that and they only think about money and power. And they stop being good for a little while, I guess. Maybe like an eon or two. Okay, let's go on further. But even these actions, and he's talking about charity and stuff like that, but even these actions should be done by relinquishing to me attachment and all and the fruits of action. This is my decisive idea. Let me read this again. But let me read the whole passage, because there's two verses, they kind of go hand in hand, or verse and verse. Action in sacrifice, charity, and penance is to be performed, not relinquished. For wise men, they are acts of sanctity. But even these actions should be done by relinquishing to me attachment and the fruit of action. This is my decisive idea. So what Krishna here says is that it's good to do all the sacrifice and charity. It's good to give to the poor. It's good. But you should not do so because you want something good to happen to you. You know how karma works? You do something good to people and something comes back to you. Well, you shouldn't care about getting all this merit. You should not care about that. You should just do it because to serve God, within. You should do it because this is who you are. This is what you want to do. You don't care about any result from these. Like to serve yourself. Kind of like, yeah. Renunciation of prescribed action is inappropriate. Relinquished in delusion, it becomes a way of dark inertia. I'll read it again. Renunciation of a prescribed action is inappropriate. Relinquished in delusion, it becomes a way of dark inertia. Well, Kierkegaard says that sometimes there's certain things that you gotta do. Like for this King Arjuna, he's supposed to fight the war. And this is how the whole book started, is that Arjuna, he's kind of crying. He says, well, I'm supposed to fight this war, but I don't want to, because on the other side, the enemy side, are my kinfolk. I got some cousins and uncles up there, and my teachers are up there, and there's gonna be a lot of bloodshed, and people are gonna lose their parents and providers, and it's just gonna be a sad affair, you know. So he's kind of decisive in fighting this war, but here Krishna says that you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, you cannot renounce, you cannot not do what you're supposed to do, because if you don't do it out of your some sort of delusion, like personal thinking, like you think this, you don't think that, because you don't know how things really are. You think thoughts, and you start believing your own thoughts, and when you don't do what you're supposed to do because of the way you think, it becomes a cause for disharmony. It causes a cause for your ego to grow. So, and the purpose of being the whole essence of life, according to Krishna, and according to everybody else too, is to become one with God, or one with Buddha, or realize the Buddha within yourself, like, or realize the Christ within yourself, you know, Christ consciousness. You know that. So I don't like the word Christ, because it's very, I think, inappropriate, because, you know, if you study the religion, the whole word Christ means Messiah, and Messiah comes, according to Jewish lore, at the end of the world. And well, we're not really sure what this end of the world is. So let's go a little farther. When one passionately relinquishes difficult action from fear of bodily harm, he cannot win the fruit of relinquishment. So here Krishna says that if you don't do what you're supposed to do, because you're afraid that you're gonna get hurt. They said it wrong. If you don't, sometimes there's certain things that we can not follow. Relinquishment. This is a hard book, because there's relinquishment and then there's renunciation, and they're so intermingled. I get confused sometimes what means what, because according before it says relinquished actions is when you don't care about the result, but here Krishna talks about relinquishing the action. So I'll just go on and say that Krishna here says that if you don't do something because you afraid you're gonna get hurt, you cannot get the benefit of not doing the deed. You see what I'm saying? Because sometimes you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to do something because it is you're practicing your self will. But if you are doing it because of something, then it's not, you're not practicing your self will. You're practicing self preservation, and that's a little different. But if one performs prescribed action because it must be done, relinquishing attachment and the fruit, but his relinquishment is a lucid act. But I read it again because this is some good stuff. But if one performs prescribed action because it must be done, relinquishing attachment and the fruit, his relinquishment is a lucid act. So here he says that when you gotta do what you gotta do because it has to be done, but you don't really care about what happens. You know, you're just doing the duty. Like you see a girl drowning and you jump into the river to save the girl. It doesn't really matter if she drowns or not, you know? Because you gotta jump in the river. This is your duty as a human being to jump in the river and try to save the girl. And so that's what's important. The action that you've done. Not necessarily the effect. Because if you save the girl, that's wonderful. And if you didn't get there in time, it's still good. It's not good that the girl drowned, but for you, you've done the right deed, and you should feel proud. But yeah, I'm using some extreme examples. My apologies. He does not disdain unskilled action, nor cling to skilled action. In his lucidity, the relinquisher is wise, and his doubts are cut away. So here he says, it doesn't really matter if the person knows what he's doing, he's good at what he's doing, the person doesn't really know what he's doing, he's not that good at what he's doing. The fact that he's doing something is good enough. Yeah? Hi. A man burdened by his body cannot completely relinquish actions, but a relinquisher is defined as one who can relinquish the fruits. So I'll read it again. A man burdened by his body cannot completely relinquish actions, but a relinquisher is defined as one who can relinquish the fruits. So Krishna here says that that if you think too much about yourself and self-preservation, your actions are not gonna be exactly pure, because the pure action would be when you perform it without really being attached to the result. The fruit of action haunts men in death if they fail to relinquish all form, unwanted, wanted, and mixed, but not if men renounce them. The fruit of action haunts men in death if they fail to relinquish all forms, unwanted, wanted, and mixed, but not if men renounce them. So, after people die, the essence of their mind is still there because the body dies. But the mind is not that easy for the mind to die, because the mind has all these attachments, all these samskaras, habitual tendencies, desires, fears, aggressions. So when the person, before he dies, still cares about what happens, still cares about his what his actions on earth have caused, then um, that will cause the man to go someplace not perfect and pure where he wants to be. But if a person renounces all the fruits of his or her actions at the time of death, then the person can come and enter nirvana, enter Krishna consciousness, Christ consciousness, attain a rainbow body, become a supreme being, become one with everything. Arjuna, learn from me the 5 causes for the success of all actions, as explained in philosophical analysis. They are the material basis, the agent, the different instruments, various kinds of behavior, and finally fate, the 5th. So, all actions, they are a cause of some reaction. There's some sort of effect that happens for every action, and these causes for actions are, well, this is the difficult one. They are either material basis. I guess they're either something that has a form, like a boulder falls on you. I don't know, something that has material. The agent, like the rabbit or whatever, the bunny that threw the boulder on the coyote, you know. So it's like somebody does something, and there's something happens. Like somebody shoots a gun and there's a bullet that pierces your neck, like soldier's neck. So there's the agent, there's the shoe set, the material basis is the bullet, the different instruments. It could be a gun in this case. Various kinds of behavior. Somebody pulls the trigger, and finally fate, which is fate. Fate is fate. So whatever action one initiates through body, speech, and mind, be it proper or perverse, these 5 causes are present. So I'm not sure exactly how this works, but Krishna says here that every action that we do, whether with our body or with our speech, what we say, or with our mind, what we think or manifest, visualize, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, these 5 causes are present. So my thing is, the one of the causes is the different instruments. So it's like some kind of a tool or something. But if somebody initiates an action with the mind, what tool is there? Because the mind is not a tool. I mean, mind is a sword. It is a tool. Mind is, but it's not really a thing. It's not really an instrument. So, I got some questions about that. Although, this being so, when a man of poor understanding and misjudgment sees himself as the only agent, he cannot be said to see. So here Krishna says that because what he said is true, when somebody who lacks the wisdom and understanding sees himself as the only thing that makes things happen, that person is blind. Because we do things not just because of ourselves. Everything that we do, we have been we do because of other people and other things. Even if we want happiness because somebody drives us to be unhappy, or life drives us to be unhappy. It's not, no man is an island, they say. When one is free of individuality and his understanding is untainted, even if he kills these people, he does not kill and is not bound. So, when somebody gains a state of mind that loses the thought of self, no matter what action the person does, even if it's murder, the person is not bound by the effect of his actions. So the person is not bound by karma. The person is free. Knowledge is object and its subject are triple stimulus of action. Instrument, act, and agent are the constituents of action. I'm gonna go a little farther, see if the next verse can clear my mind, because I'm not exactly sure what this means. Knowledge, action, agent are threefold, differentiated by qualities of nature. Hear how this has been explained in the philosophical analysis of qualities. Eh? Let me read these two verses again, because they kind of passed me by, and I'm thinking to myself, what? Okay, I'll read it again. Knowledge, its object and its subject are the triple stimulus of action. Instrument, act, and agent are the constituents of action. Aha. Knowledge, action, agent are threefold, differentiated by qualities of nature. Hear how this has been explained in the philosophical analysis of qualities. So, every action, everything that happens, action. There's always action. There is the experience, and then there is the experiencer, and then there is some kind of a knowledge of that which is experienced. So these three, the knowledge, experience, and the experiencer, are the energy that drives action to be action. So that's what drives us to live. It moves life forward. So after we die, that's because there's these three elements we still gone. And the thing that acts and where it acts or how it acts and the act itself is what makes the action an action. All right, let's go on to the next verse. This is a difficult chapter. All those other chapters were much simpler than this. Here I have to think really, really hard, and I'm still a little bit. I'm sort of sure, sort of not sure in what I'm saying, but then again, this whole book has been like that. I'm not, uh, I'm not a Hindu person, but I'm down with Hindu. It's just this book is my initiation into the Hindu religion. I'm reading this book and I'm learning. And I'm seeing all the religions in this book. I'm seeing Christianity, I'm seeing Buddhism. Yep. Okay. Next verse. Know that through lucid knowledge, one sees in all creatures a single, unchanging existence, undivided within its divisions. So here Krishna says that when you've got a good eye, you got a really clear wisdom eye, in all life forms, in all beings, you see the divinity. You see the same divinity. Like the same God in me is the same God in you, the same God in birds and bees, all of that. Know passionate knowledge as that which regards various distinct existences separately in all creatures. So, all beings, we all think that we are unique, well, we're having our own personal experiences. But that's because we have attachments to a self. We want things. We want things. We want to be happy. We want to have things. We want to have good food. We want to be warm when we're cold. So this desire, this passion, is what makes us feel separate from everybody else. But knowledge clings to a single thing, as if it were the whole, limited, lacking a sense of reality, is known for its dark inertia. So there's this notion up here in this book, in this translation of dark inertia, and that's like the evil, the something that is the opposite of good, of God, of what we want to be. I can't say it's evil or good, but where we want to be, the goal, the object, the peace. And this dark inertia, according to Krishna, is desire for oneself, as if oneself was all there is. So when you think only about yourself and disregard all other people or other life, that's not good. And there seems to be a lot of this dark inertia in the world, with all the wars and stuff, and pollution. It's like these people, they go and destroy the world. They go start mining in places, and all the life around those places die, and people get sick, and birds die, and forests die, and people don't care about anybody but themselves or the prophets. That's just not good. Horrible. Action, known for its lucidity, is necessary. Free of attachment, performed without attraction or hatred by any who seeks no fruit. Read it again. Action known for its lucidity is necessary, free of attachment, performed without attraction or hatred by one who seeks no fruit. So, a good action, a clear action, a proper action, action that will get you to a better state than ordinary state, is um, is an action that is performed out of duty, performed out of necessity. It's performed not because uh, you want to perform it or you want to be seen like somebody who makes it. You don't do it because of any egoistic notions. You don't do it because you want something. You don't do it because you don't want something. So to you, the action that you perform, it bears. You do it because you have to do it, and it doesn't matter the result of it. What is? That's a very that will get you to a better state. And action called passionate is performed with great effort by an individualist who seeks to satisfy his desires. And sometimes, so see, we have the ego, the evil action, the person who does things without caring about anybody else. And we have lucid action, which is action is done for the sake of action, not for the sake of fruit. And then we have action that's done for the sake of fruit, because the person that does it, he wants to, like when you're hungry, you want to eat. So you have yourself a cookie, and then you just have yourself a second cookie, just because, why not? Yeah. Action defined by dark inertia is undertaken in delusion, without concern for consequences, for death or violence or for manhood. When you perform the actions out of evil intent, you're just crazy. People do evil actions because they're crazy. Krishna says they don't care about what happens. They don't care about death or violence or negativity. They don't care about their souls. They don't care about how they think of themselves. It's craziness. And that's what's really going on nowadays in the world. Yep. But apparently, that's what was going on back in the days too. Ain't a new thing. Evil is not a new thing. An agent called pure has no attachment or individualism, is resolute and energetic, unchanged in failure and success. So, the person is called pure, good, right, proper. That's where you want to be. When you do things not for the sake of self, not for the sake to accomplish something, not for the no, you do it for the sake to accomplish something. But if you don't accomplish it, you're not gonna change. It's not gonna get you down and depressed and say, oh, I shouldn't have done it, why did I do it, I'm never gonna do something like that again. No, it's just things happen. Like this Milarepa guy that I like talking about, he found himself a Buddhist teacher. That's after he killed a bunch of people. And the teacher was like, okay, so he killed all these people using black magic. Now you gotta do some duty. You gotta do some penance. And he made him build a big castle called Stupa. And then after he built it, his teacher said, "Well, I'm sorry, my friend, but I was drunk when I told you to build the stupa, because I wanted to build a different kind of stupa. Go build me a different kind of stupa." So he built a different kind of stupa, and the teacher came by and says, "Oh shit, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't want the stupa here. I want the stupa somewhere else. You have to take all those rocks and move them somewhere else." And Milarepa ended up building 9 stupas. You know, so because and then that's why Milarepa is such a famous fella, because he did actually got himself enlightened and flew around countryside of Tibet and appeared to a bunch of disciples after death and disappeared into, yeah. An agent said to be passionate is anxious to gain the fruit of action, greedy, essentially violent, impure, subject to excitement and grief. So when people really want to get something, people, like got a lot of desire. I really want this house. I really want this cookie. And if they don't get this cookie, they'll throw a fit. They'll start crying, they start being violent, they start beating on the table. "Oh, let me in. I want this cookie. I don't care that the store is closed. Break the window, get the cookie." The people usually got attachment to things. People really, a lot of people like that. Like little things they blow up to be big things, like making elephants out of flies. And then they start snapping over nothing. A lot of people like that. There's this most of the world exists in a passionate state. Some of the world exists in this dark state. I personally have seen very few people in the dark state, but I have seen pretty dark individuals, and they were really sad in my eyes. I looked at them as very sad, but they appeared to be quite happy and joyous, but they were living in misery. Yep. And I've seen a fair share of people living in a pure state, because I know I've met a lot of lamas and yogis and stuff like that, and they're very, very comfortable with themselves and the world. That's what it's about. It's all about being comfortable. Be comfortable. Accept reality as it is. So where was I? An agent defined by dark inertia is undisciplined, vulgar, stubborn, fraudulent, dishonest, lazy, depressed, and slow to act. Listen, as I tell you without reserve about understanding and resolve, each in 3 aspects, according to the qualities of nature. In one who knows activity and rest, acts of right and wrong, bravery and fear, bondage and freedom, understanding is lucid. So here Krishna is talking about how three different people's view on the world, how they mind's eye is. So first he starts talking about a very clear eye, a person that sees things as they are, and that person knows when things are moving and knows when things are resting. Person that knows what it's like to be in chains, in bondage, and knows what it's like to be free. No person that knows fear, person that knows bravery, knows right, knows wrong. A person of knowledge, person who's been there, done that, seen things, knows things. That person has a lucid view, has a lucid, clear wisdom eye, mind's eye. When one fails to discern sacred duty from chaos, right acts from wrong, understanding is passionate. So passionate people of desires, they keep mixing things up. They keep thinking that they're doing good when they're doing bad. Well, they keep trying to fix things and they're causing more misery. We get to see a lot of politicians acting that way. Small, medium-sized politician, not the ones on top. The politicians on top. Now here's their here is their verse. When it meaning person or agent, when it thinks in perverse ways, is covered in darkness. Imagining chaos to be sacred duty, understanding is darkly inert. So see, like all these people, they wage war for war's sake. They don't wage war to preserve peace. They don't wage war to do something good. They wage war because they want to kill. And that's the people on top. Yep. When it sustains acts of mind, breath, and senses through discipline without wavering, resolve, and lucid. Read it again. When it sustains acts of mind, breath, and senses through discipline without wavering, resolve is lucid. So when we are when we know ourselves and we keep this knowledge, we don't lose ourselves in our senses, in our desires, then we're on the right path. When it sustains with attachment, duty, desire, and wealth, craving their fruits, resolve is passionate. And when we are attached to things, when we want money, we want nice houses, bigger cars, um, then we are passionate, then we are existing in the world of desire, and we often are mistaken. We mix right from wrong. When a fool cannot escape dreaming, fear, grief, depression, and intoxication, courage is darkly inert. So Krishna calls the evil people fools. So he calls them these fools. They cannot escape from their wishes, from their fears, from the pains, from getting drunk on power. Then they're falling into a hole. Arjuna, now hear about joy, the three ways of finding delight through practice that brings an end of suffering. The joy of lucidity at first seems like poison, but is in the end like ambrosia from the calm of self-understanding. Now Krishna is talking about How to find a peace of mind? How to get on the right road and stay on the right road and get to the right destination? Peace. He says that at first, seeing things as they are is pretty frightening. It's pretty frightening because initially we're not prepared for this. We don't want to acknowledge reality as reality. So it's kind of like poison. It seems like poison to ordinary people. But at the end, if we don't run away, if we stay, then this poison, what seems to be poison, becomes like an elixir that gives us strength and youth and life, ambrosia. Yeah. Because it gives us peace. At first, it seems shocking. It's like you have to face yourself. And we're always running away from ourselves. But when we stand up to ourselves and face ourselves and overcome ourselves, then we get peace. Peace with oneself. And peace with oneself means peace with the world. The joy that is passionate at first seems like ambrosia. When senses encounter sense objects, but in the end it is like poison. And at first, when we desire things and we get them, it feels like, oh, we got it. It feels like joyous and we're so happy. But then, eventually, it poisons us because how many things can you get? You want one car, you got it. What do you want again? You want a better car. You get a better car. You never stop. And then it feels like you're falling in a trap. It feels like falling into a hole. And that's what people go mad. The joy arising from sleep, laziness and negligence, self-deluding from the beginning to end, is said to be darkly inert. So, this joy, this energy that we get from not caring, from being lazy, from just lying to ourselves, not caring about what's really going on, just being really selfish and egoless and lazy. It's said to be no good. There is no being on earth or amongst the gods in heaven free from the triad of qualities that are born of nature. So here Krishna says that all beings everywhere, they have either this passion, this desire, or they're passionate, desire, someone, they have this evil alertness, really strong egoism, or they're very clear and lucid. Everywhere is like that. Everybody's like that. The actions of priests, warriors, commoners, and servants are apportioned by qualities born of their intrinsic being. So everybody, everybody makes themselves up, basically. That's how I read this. Tranquility, control, penance, purity, patience, and honesty, knowledge, judgment, and piety are intrinsic to the actions of a priest. So a priest should be a really nice person. Should have a lot of forgiveness and should be have a lot of compassion, and should be really patient and honest and pure and have self-control. Heroism, fiery energy, resolve, skill, refusal to retreat in battle, charity, and majesty in conduct are intrinsic to the actions of a warrior. And the warrior is supposed to be like a hero, not supposed to quit, supposed to keep on fighting, supposed to have energy, supposed to have, supposed to be an example to others, supposed to look good fighting too, supposed to like it, and supposed to be charitable too, not supposed to be greedy. Farming, herding cattle, and commerce are intrinsic to the actions of a commoner. Action that is essentially service is intrinsic to the servant. So, commoner, like ordinary folk. Well, this is India, so. But even in so ordinary folk, they made tools and sold stuff, and it was mostly farmers. It was like kings, priests, warriors, and farmers and servants. So servants are supposed to be serving. Like a nail technician is supposed to do the nails, and the farmer is supposed to be farming. So everybody's supposed to be doing what they're supposed to be doing, Krishna says. Each one achieves success by focusing on his own action. Here how one finds success by focusing on his own action. By his own action, a man finds success, worshipping the source of all creatures' activity, by presence pervading all that is. Better to do one's own duty imperfectly than to do another man's well. Do an action intrinsic to his being, a man avoids guilt. See, that's one thing I cannot agree with. Maybe because I lack the understanding, but this is the whole essence of the caste system. Here Krishna says that this is how what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do what you're born to do. So if you're born to be a warrior, it's better to be a bad warrior than a good farmer. You know what? If a bad farmer is a better warrior, he should be a better warrior. As a bad warrior is a better farmer, he should be a farmer. That's what I say. I can't agree with Krishna up here, because usually I agree with Krishna, but here, not me. Arjuna, a man should not relinquish action he is born to, even if it is flawed. All other thinkings are marred by a flaw, as fire is obscured by smoke. So here he talks again and again that if you're born to do something, that's what you're supposed to do, even if you don't like doing it, because there's nothing perfect under the sun. His understanding everywhere detached, the self-mastered, longing gone, one finds through renunciation the supreme success beyond action. Yeah, well, if you do your duty, he says, and you let go of attaching yourself to the result, and you don't do what you're not supposed to be doing, you'll be successful. Understand, in summary from me, how when he achieves success, one attains the infinite spirit, the highest state of knowledge. So, this is the success, the what you want to get. If you do your thing, what you're supposed to be doing, you'll get the best of the world. You get the highest bliss. You'll get to be one with God. I don't see how, if you don't like herding cattle and you're supposed to be herding cattle and not good at it, but you still do it without attaching to good or bad, and how you supposed to get bliss? Still, I don't know. But Krishna says so, so that's the book. Mm. Armed with his purified understanding, subduing the self with resolve, relinquishing sensuous objects, avoiding attraction and hatred, observing solitude, barely eating, restraining speech, body, and mind, practicing discipline and meditation, cultivating dispassion, freeing himself from individuality, force, pride, desire, anger, acquisitiveness, unpossessive, tranquil, he is at one with the infinite spirit. Well, okay, now it makes a little more sense. I guess you're not supposed to just do your duty, but you're supposed to do your duty really mindfully as a meditation. And as you're doing your duty, you're supposed to let go of all the attachments. And you're supposed to also meditate too and be really disciplined and let go of all your likes and dislikes. So it basically just become a zero. Just melt in. Well, I think this is, I mean, it makes sense, sort of. Being at one with the infinite spirit, serene in himself, he does not grieve or crave, impartial toward all creatures. He achieves supreme devotion to me. Krishna here says that when a person is really comfortable with him or herself and does not grieve for losing things and does not crave things that he doesn't or she doesn't possess, have, and treats all creatures, all beings equally, that person serves God. Through devotion, he discerns me, just who and how vast I really am. And knowing me in reality, he enters into my presence. Always performing all actions, taking refuge in me, he attains through my grace the eternal place beyond change. So if that person who's really good at doing what he does or she does, without any attachment or aversion, and the person knows, not ignorance too, so the person knows what he's doing. No, the person comes to see the reality in its all vastness, and the person melts, blends into the reality, enters the presence of God in poetical words, and forever. And once knowing God, the person takes refuge in this emptiness, which is shunyata, or you can say Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya in Buddhism. So that's how the person enters God, becomes one with God, melts into God. Through reason, renounce all works in me, focus on me, relying on discipline of understanding, always keep me in your thought. So not just by blind faith, but through logic. Renounce, Krishna says, all that you do. No, so it's just actually, I'm not sure what it means because he says, renounce all works in me, and it just does make sense. But he does focus on me. So, through logical understanding, basically, instead of doing things, just think of God. And then, because you understand what you're thinking on, keep God in your mind. If I am in your thought, by my grace you will transcend all dangers. But if you are deafened by individuality, you will be lost. But see, God up here is not an individual. It's not like a God the Father that Judeo-Christian religion talks of. God up here is more like an infinite emptiness that is pervading through all galaxies, all universes. It's not a thing. So if you keep this emptiness in your mind, then you will melt into it and you will lose your individuality. But if you keep yourself to your individuality, if you say, me, look at me, look at what I am doing, that's what will lead you away from perfection, from bliss, from eternity. Your resolve is futile. In the sense of individuality, your resolve is futile. If a sense of individuality makes you think, I shall not fight, nature will compel you to. You are bound by your own action, intrinsic to your own being, Arjuna. Even against your will, you must do what delusion now makes you refuse. Arjuna, the Lord resides in the heart of all creatures, making them real magically as if a machine moved them. So, here we're going back to the war scenario, because this is Krishna giving advice to Arjuna at the time of war. And he says that even if Arjuna decides not to fight, he will still have to fight, because that's his duty and he cannot escape it. It's this divine energy that moves all men, because God, divine energy, is inside hearts of all men. And everything that happens is kind of like God's will. With your whole being, Arjuna, take refuge in Him alone. His grace you will attain the eternal place that is peace. So, here he says, Arjuna, take refuge in Buddha. Take refuge in God. Take refuge in eternity. Take refuge in emptiness, which is full of life and creativity. And through the grace, one will attain the peace. And there's nothing better than peace, because the peace is what we all want. Peace of heart, peace of mind. This knowledge I have taught is more arcane than any mystery. Consider it completely, then act as you choose. Listen to my profound words, the deepest mystery of all, for you are precious to me, and I tell you for your own good. Keep your mind on me, be my devotee, sacrificing, bow to me. You will come to me, I promise, for you are dear to me. Relinquishing all sacred duties to me, make me your only refuge. Do not grieve, for I shall free you from all evils. Here Krishna says, you must have to you have to understand me. And if you understand me, if not as you want to understand me, not as you think I am, but if you understand me as I am, if you understand self, if you see God in yourself, worship that God within yourself, worship that divinity within yourself, worship the sacred within all life. Because once you see it inside yourself, you see it everywhere. And you can call it Krishna, you can call it Jesus, you can call it Buddha, doesn't matter. It's just a label. But that which is labeled, it's so pure. It's not even a thing. It's just, I'd like to say it's an idea, but it's not even a thought. It's like a presence that's everywhere at all times. It's just the presence. It's not even a personal presence. It's kind of impersonal. You must not speak of this to anyone. No, you must not speak of this to one who is without penance and devotion, or who does not wish to hear, or who finds fault with me. When he shares this deepest mystery with others devoted to me, giving me his total devotion, a man will come to me without doubt. So here he says, don't talk about this with ignorant folk, with folk who don't want to hear about all this, who keep looking for faults with this, keep trying to find something that's wrong with this. But tell it to people who want to hear it, and those people will come to know God eventually. No mortal can perform service for me that I value more, and no other man on earth will be more dear to me than he is. So if you do what Krishna says to do, just keep your mind on the prize, be detached to the effect of the actions that you perform. That's the highest thing that you can do. There's nothing better that you can do. I judge the man who studies our dialogue on sacred duty to offer me sacrifice to sacrifice in knowledge. If he listens in faith, finding no fault, a man is free and will attain the cherished worlds of those who act in virtue. Arjuna, have you listened with your full powers of reason? Has the delusion of ignorance now been destroyed? So here Krishna kind of concludes his dialogue and says that he is the jury and the judge, and the person who carries out things, and he keeps an eye on everybody who listens, and everybody who studies, and everybody who does what one needs to do. It's the eye in the sky, all seeing eye. And if you listen and you understand and you follow, then you'll get the best. You'll get the best in the world. And then he asked Arjuna, Did he was he because Arjuna had a bunch of doubts and questions, and so he asked Arjuna, "Is he happy? Did he understood him?" And Arjuna says, "Krishna, my delusion is destroyed, and by your grace I have regained memory. I stand here, my doubt dispelled, ready to act on your words." So Arjuna says that, "Yep, I've done it all. Thank you, sir." And now we have the fellow. His name is Sanjaya. He's actually a witness, and this dialogue is spoken by Sanjaya to Arjuna's father, because Arjuna's father asked him, "Tell me how was the war? What was happening?" And Sanjaya is saying, "Well, this is what happening. There was a big battle, and those people sang those horns and conches, and people were ready to battle. And Arjuna, he had some doubts, and he talked to Krishna." So apparently Sanjaya had a perfect memory, and some people do. So he remembered the whole conversation and talked to Arjuna's father. But this is the few verses that Sanjaya says. As I heard this wondrous dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, the man of great soul, the hair bristled on my flesh. By grace of the epic poet Vyasa, I heard the mystery of supreme discipline recounted by Krishna himself, the Lord of discipline incarnate. O King, when I keep remembering this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I rejoice again and again. In my memory, I recall again and again Krishna's wondrous form. Great is my amazement, King. I rejoice again and again. Where Krishna is Lord of where Krishna is Lord of discipline and Arjuna is the archer, there do fortune, victory, abundance, and morality exist. So I think. Well, that was self-explanatory. Right now it's 5:15. I've done my hour and a half. And on that note, Hare Krishna. Om Namaya Buddhaya. Hey, be excellent to each other. I'm out of here.